Good evening, Banger Racing fans, and a very warm welcome to episode 59 of Cageful Throttle. I'm Ed Fahey, and already the summer season is kicking off big time, so we've plenty to talk about over the next hour or so. But before we'll do it, let's meet our panellists. He makes a rare appearance on Cageful Throttle, but he's very welcome. Jake Harris, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good stuff. And he's always here, it's Jordan Hollands.
Hello, Ed. Hello, everyone else. Yes, good evening to you all.
And he's making a calling in appearance tonight, but again, very welcome. It's Don Brock.
Good evening, one and all. Yeah, laptop is still having a hissy fit with me, but phone will do for now. I'll have to see if I can source a new one with my new job.
Good stuff. And at the back at the red grades, oh no, wait, it's just his hair. It's James Keane.
Every week I wonder how you're going to get me for being ginger. That was one of your best ones yet. Yeah, good evening, Ed. Good evening to everyone listening.
Good. I'll start off the news this week. As we've discussed it a lot, Wheelspin magazine, and obviously the good discussions we've given over the last few episodes have been good because the sales are up and Dean Cox is actually accepting subscriptions again. Jordan, you're very happy about that.
Yes, I am, Ed. Yeah. Obviously, I know firsthand how hard Dean works with the magazine. Puts a lot of his own money into it, as he has the last 3 or 4 years since he took over it. And yeah, it's been tough for him, obviously, due to COVID and tracks being shut for a considerable amount of months, meant that obviously people couldn't buy the magazine. Obviously, we still had early online sales and stuff, but sometimes people find it easier just to go into a track shop at Ipswich or Eastbourne and pick up the magazine there. But no, it's really good that we're now getting the magazine back on sale. People are picking it up, people are reading it, and we've also got a lot of new customers and readers and followers as well. So yeah, it's really good. I've sent over the article for the next publication, which I speak about what has really been a fantastic start to the season for the national bangers, the Speedway for domestic bangers, and the couple of meetings that they've had. And also, I know it's a bit of a sore subject, but the back to basics as well. So, yeah, that'll be out. I think it's due out the first weekend in July, which was obviously supposed to be Speed Weekend. But yeah, I'm sure we'll give it a share on the page. But if not, please do check out Wheelspin magazine on Facebook for all the latest information on that. And yeah, hopefully you will enjoy reading it because we always have a lot of fun publishing it.
That's good. It's good to see the print media is still king. I know everybody expects it now with online stuff, but yeah, it's still nice to sit on the throne and have some fun throne reading material. And for our younger viewers, throne basically means doing a number 2 or whatever rhymes with number 2. That's what you do. But
keep it classy. Keep it classy.
Oh, of course. Us slightly older folk need to keep it classy, don't we? We move on to the news. Lee Clark, 247 Bro, everybody's favourite, the People's Champion. He became a father there last year, but unfortunately we've a few issues. His young daughter needs our help, basically. We've posted up on the main Cage Facebook page he set up with Just Giving. So give what you can, help Bro out, because he helps us by putting big smiles on our faces, giving trophies away and all that. So support the sport and support the drivers. James, you had a bit of news on that? Similar news?
Yeah, I'd also just like from all of us at Cage, would like to say get well soon to Janet Wood, obviously one of the 2 co-promoters of Speedworth. She's been a bit ill over the last week, but it sounds like she's on her way to make amends. She does so much work that most people don't even see, so we'd like to wish her all the best. And also to Steph Carter, one of the admin team, and she's also recently had a bit of a we'd like to say get well soon to her as well. So from all of us at Caged, obviously we're all one big community, and we'd just like to say get well soon to the people that make the sport happen.
Very much so. Well, we'll move on to first for our meeting reviews. Skegness, 390 teams. Now, this was basically started off as a good event 3 years ago. It got better, and it got better again. And I think last Sunday just gone by was one of the very best. I'd say it's certainly the best meeting in 2021 so far, which is not mean feat given what we have. But again, the fact that we've had racing at all means we appreciate everything. One of our Cage crew was there. Jake, I know you were there with the cameras, but what were your thoughts on being there?
Yeah, I thought it was an absolutely blinding meeting. Like you said, it's going to be I'd say it's going to be meeting the year already. I don't think there's going to be many meetings that can top that. Maybe Arlington and Yarmouth BWSs may get close, but just the whole day, the cars, the actual racing, the feel-good factor, it was all there. And it is a good track, Skeg, and the team meeting is good every year, but that just took it to a new level this year. It was better than the 2 previous ones, in my opinion.
Judging from the photographs we're getting during the day, like apart from, say, Gaz's big classic American, the Cadillac that he raced, everyone just seemed to be getting stuck in. Now, I know when you get the likes of the Gladiators and Team Black and all that together, you just seem to get action. And the action, it just seemed to be non-stop.
Yeah, I'll say, I think there was, possibly one sort of quietish race of the day. But even then, there was still bits and pieces happening in that. So, no, it was really good. And, like, the final was just unbelievable, really, because it was just constant crashing. If our red flags come out, a fair few cars are on the middle or stop or start, it's going to be a bit quieter. But no, it just kept flowing all day, and it was spot on. It was brilliant. Everyone keen to pull cars and the like. Nathan Roberts changed his engine in the Yank for the final, so fair play to him. Rick was trying to bodge up a cracked manifold. Do you know what I mean? It's not just the pulling stuff, it's the silly stuff like that as well, what people don't see. And drivers were full on just trying to get the cars out however they could.
Well, that's good. I mean, it looked a fantastic meeting. Of course, kudos to promoter Skegness, Mr. Rob Speak, stock car legend, but he's raced a few bangers down the years. We've said it before, basically, any driver turned promoter, they just seem to have a better finger on what's happening. That would include Dean Wood, Davey McCall, and one or two of the others, or even just people in the background who've raced. Like, they know what's happening, they know what's involved even, so it's not just a case of turning up on the Sunday. Some guys will spend weeks getting the cars ready, or even just, an awful lot of our drivers are self-employed, so just basically finding a bit of time to get the cars ready. But was there any standout performances from individual drivers, Jake, or was it just everyone just piled in, was up for the crash?
Yeah, no, everyone was pretty incredible, to be fair. There were probably a couple of highlights, i.e. Waller, Broken Shear, both on it in their Yanks. Sid in the DD was brilliant. Joey kept getting the Volvo out, you know what I mean? So, yeah, there was people you can pick up. The Gladiators were all good with the never say die attitude as per normal. So, yeah, there were some standout performances, but everyone in general just had a real good meeting. I
think that it was the refreshing change to see world champion Sid Magic going crashing, or just a case that he had to crash his way through the pileups. No,
he actually meant it, believe it or not. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, it made you laugh. He was talking about saving the car before the DD. He was glad he took it out in the end. It's very excited on the in-car, bless him.
That's good. This is great. It's good to hear, positive meeting. Someone enjoyed this. Is a great meeting. You enjoyed yourself. Everyone else enjoyed themselves. All the drivers enjoyed themselves. It's not something we've had lately, and we'll come back to it a bit later. But any final thoughts on Jake? Just thumbs up, proper day out.
Yeah, obviously, I thought it was quite amusing. Everyone sort of slagging off on Oval Chat and whatnot beforehand, because it's just one of them teams. It's just got the right attitude and feel good factor about the meeting before it's even started. But we go back to like Kings Lynn a couple of weeks ago. That didn't look exactly the best of lineup, shall we say? But no one really didn't say anything about that, and to be fair, that turned out to be a real good meeting as well. Obviously, I didn't expect Skeg to be as good as it was because it was absolutely spot on. But I still thought it'd be good, and I just don't get the point of writing stuff off before it's happened. But no, it's really nice to see Rob, the team, the drivers prove them people wrong. This is it, and they've already confirmed for 2022 the same date, which is Father's Day. I think that probably again the middle of June. So yeah. This is certainly one meeting we guess to look forward to in 2022. But that'd be it then, Jack. Any final thoughts then, or are we good to move on? Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. I'll say I think everyone's seen for themselves how good it was. Just probably a kudos to Rob Speak. The man was here, there, and everywhere Sunday. 1 minute he's he's trackside, telling the tractors to, sort out that car at start, get him back in the race. And the next minute you see him in the pits trying to help someone else, and the next minute he's somewhere else. I thought for a promoter he was really hands-on, and I thought it was really good to see.
Well, that's it. I'd say Rob Speak's definitely one of our future Hall of Famers anyway, so this is all good. I've seen him race, I've chatted to him, he's a good guy, he's good for the sport. Jordan, you want to come in this one, or just see where you're watching from a distance like me? Obviously look good online. Any data on that? Or?
No, it looked really good online, and I'm going to follow you really, and just take a bit of a back seat for this one. I'm quite interested to see what Dom thought of it, though. See if he agrees with Jake, because he was actually there as well.
He was.
Yeah, indeed, and it was my only my second ever trip to Skeg. The first being a bit of a miss on my part, misjudging it, and going up in November of 20. I think it was 2020. It's 2019. I lose track of time so much now, but yeah, this was my first teams meeting. This was the first time I'd experienced the big day, and I was not disappointed. I was particularly impressed with the Yank drivers. So Broken Shear, despite I think his Yank was probably one of the only ones without the running gear. You could quite easily tell was not original, because the ride height was all a bit shonky, and the engine didn't sound as peachy as Gaz's Coupe de Ville, but credit to him, he was putting in solid hits all day. Same with Waller, really. They were both, the pair of them throughout the latter heats, were on a mission just to try and eviscerate all opponents. Credit to TWT. They're sort of the team that I think many people had a lot of questions about going into this meeting, because they were a team that haven't really existed in a real sense, because they sort of a mesh of old creams drivers, 3 litre, TMT, and just some other solo drivers that have sort of just picked up, joined in for the fun, and they really put on a show where I don't think it was necessarily expected. Like I said, like it's already been said, the Oval chatters were very keen to write it off, saying, "Oh, it's too many friends. It'll be door rubbing. It will be this, that, and the other." But it was never the case. It was a fantastic day, and I was supremely I couldn't have been happier with the way it went. The first heat was that had the good wrecking train between the Glads and the Mob. That was pretty much happening right in front of me. I did do my best to get the pictures, but catch fencing ruined my day to a certain degree. In certain areas of Skeg Stadium, it's almost double layered, so had a bit of a difficult time there. Second heat was probably the quietest one of the day, I think. There wasn't, but again, Big Al was on form, and obviously the TGV damage as a team as a whole were on form throughout the day, and obviously they were the team that came away with the wins come the end of it. Third heat was another mental one, Team Black versus the Glads, Taylor Pratchett and Tom Waller getting stuck in limo to Yank. Turkish took a massive door shot early on, but he put some seat belts on it and pulled it out, and it was still suitable for the rest of the meeting, so that was all fine. Micros were on top form as well. I was interested to see the Daihatsu and how that got on, because that's not something you'd see every day in the micro formulas, but that did well, and that was good fun. It took a few good hits as well. Later on in the day, fourth heat, I think it was Swampy who had a roll at his Volvo. Again, Rob Speak coming over to help throughout the day. He was one of the ones. Just that thing leaked oil onto the circuit, leaked fuel onto the circuit, something chronic, and Rob Speak and the boys were very quick to see that and put down all the relevant dust and things to absorb the mess. That heat just continued to roll on with the TWT versus Team Black war. That would basically be the highlight of the day, I'd say. And as the meeting went on, it just didn't stop, really. There was really too much to fit into a report, because it was such a mental day of racing. The big highlights have to be Gaz's Coupe de Ville, which I thought would be saved by, at some point in that meeting. I thought he's only going to do so many great laps in it and then he'll go home. But credit to him and credit to Josh Gooch who took it out in the DD, because that was something I think will take us a while to see something as dramatic as that again. And credit to all the drivers really who turned out. Pre-90s aren't the easiest to get hold of nowadays, and forming a team up of 4 drivers, that isn't easy either. And the fact that everyone managed to make this event what it was, it's really spectacular. It's a credit to them. It's a credit to the promoters, and credit to Rob Speak for making this all happen. And rest assured, the way it went, I will definitely be back next year, because that was something just special to behold. I think it will live in my memory for a very long time.
That's it. I mean, we were talking about this during the week as well. It's just so far in 2021, given everything that we've had, it's certainly the meeting of the year. Cars of the year, drivers of the year, and attitudes of the year. Like, I know you both said it, overchat this, overchat that. Overchat is what it is. It's been around for a long time. Like, I've been on overchat over 20 years now, I'd say. But some things never change. So the whole don't knock it until it happens, or if it's the smile I get of overchat is when people say, "Oh, this meeting's gonna be crap," blah, blah, blah. Actually turns out to be really good. So that's what we got really. So I mean, everyone came away happy, which is good. And I think for change, I wouldn't think one car from that meeting is going to be seen again. We're right in saying that. Pretty much everything was destroyed at the end.
I've got one person who I think escaped damage throughout the entire day. He did 2 heats. I know that for a fact. Maskell Jr. in the Mark II Granada. We hadn't actually had a Mark II Granada race at the meeting prior to this running, which is a big surprise. And I made the point on the day that more Daimlers have raced at this meeting than Mark IIs and Mark I Granadas. But yeah, I think he left the day with the straightest car, but he definitely put in some good performances with it as well. Race-wise, he kept his nose clean. He scored some solid points for the team, but obviously he has other plans for that vehicle, and I'm sure we'll see it going forward wherever it may be.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, 327 Mick Maxwell Jr., he is a former world champion as well. People forget that. But, no, he's good at what he does. So I'll credit to him the amount of hassle it takes putting cars together. Interesting what you said about the Granadas, but we'll find out where they were in a couple of minutes. But, we'll move on quick on this one.
Ed, just before you move on, we do have, we have currently got, you guys won't be able to see this, we have currently got a poll running within the Facebook live stream about will Skegness teams be the meeting of the year. So far, the votes are 73% for definitely for sure and 27% probably not. So I think that shows quite how much what people think about the event so far. I mean, I think it says a lot about this event. That I've heard so much about this event, but I haven't actually heard which team won, which I think says quite a lot about it. I believe it's one of the TWT teams, right?
No. I did just briefly mention it.
Did you?
I was trying to squeeze it in because of Big Al's performances, but it was TGB Damage. So it was,
TGB Damage. Okay.
It was Bro, Big Al, and I can't remember the guy from TGB who was joining them. They were actually only a team of 3, but they were doing so well. They managed to keep their nose clean and win the day out.
Yeah, and I've been thinking a lot why this meeting was sort of a lot of people being a down on it before it even started. I mean, firstly, there was the amount of friends out there. Now, with the right attitude, the amount of friends out there doesn't really matter, does it? Especially in a team meeting, hopefully. And secondly, I was just thinking, like, if you remember, think back to the Caged Open and the amount of action we saw between Team Black and 3 Litre, that it was obvious there's going to be some of that carrying on, like a war with smiles and handshakes all around, which is what made the Caged Open Unlimited such a great meeting. And I wonder if part of it was, if you remember, think back to 2018, it would be, or was it 2017? Either the first of these old school Skegness team meetings, the booking list filled up very fast and then drained off a bit. And I think that one was actually won by Gary Madrick and Cecil, just as a 2-man team. Apparently it was a really good meeting, but I just think it was a case of there was a lot of hype for that, and it maybe which didn't do it any favours. And the one afterwards was good, but nothing again, it was perfectly acceptable. And I wonder if maybe some of that early hype has stayed in people's minds, and they were thinking, "Oh, it's just going to be another one of those that fails to live up to expectations." Which is, I suppose, in Bangor racing we could be quite a pessimistic bunch, can't we? And I think that's probably where more of it came from than any sort of real expectation. But it sounds like it was an excellent meeting, and hopefully this doesn't then go the other way now, and everyone goes, "Oh, it's going to be a great meeting," and then if there's not a jack in train in every race, then people are complaining, "Oh, it's rubbish again." I just think you're talking about drivers here. You don't know, you can't tell what's going to happen in Bangor racing. It's what makes it great. But I think writing a meeting off with that many cars, that many teams booked in, was foolish to say the least before starting, and everyone who's gone. I know a lot of people that didn't go because they thought it wasn't going to be very good. Absolutely regretted it. I know a lot of people. Mr. Get Your Evening, Brett, if you're listening, you were one of them. He's absolutely kicking himself. Obviously, Brett, the guy behind Totally Trashed, one of our friends within the Bangor media community. He's one of those who was regretting it afterwards, and I think it just goes to show that you really can't predict what's going to happen. The meeting that you don't think will then surprise everyone. But congratulations to Skegness, congratulations to Mr. Speak and all of his team for putting on a great meeting. And it sounds like definitely one of the meetings to look for at the start of the season when the calendars come out. So I'm going to close that poll now on the feed, and it's 75%. Think it's going to be 79%. Just had another vote come in for this will be me at the 21%. Probably not. I don't know. Whatever that 21% we're expecting, I've got no idea. But even more votes are coming in now just as I'm about to close it. So I think we've definitely got the result there. Okay then. So Ed, I'll hand back over to you.
Thank you very much, James. Well, we're moving on. So positivity. We started off on a high. We'll need to dip a little bit, unfortunately. Increase the Midlands Premier Promotion. Used to run Hensford. Years ago now, I used to run Northampton and Birmingham Wales, but mostly concentrate on Hensford these days. I remember years ago they were the Bulls promoter. Like the Bond family at the time seemed to run it very well. Obviously, come out with a few different ideas. Don't forget they came up with the idea of, say, Civil War, and the original classic car meetings were held there too, pre-68s. And there used to be plenty of good meetings around the tracks, but it seems to have dried up a bit. James, you're from that area, of course.
That's right. Yeah, so
you would have been there and done that back in the day.
So just to slightly correct that, I think you might have slightly tripped over your words, but of course Northampton is part of Speedway in-car race still, and that's exactly why we were talking about it on the show tonight, because coming up this weekend is the 2-litre ORCi World Championship, also known as the In-Car Race World Championship. It's the It's the one that was always run, especially when there were separate promotions, that was run for in-car race. And me and Jordan were having a bit of a chat behind the scenes, and the reason we wanted to bring this up was it's been a bit relegated to a second-tier championship now, and it still carries the name World Championship. But we're thinking where it's gone over the years, because I think moving back to Northampton's a good idea, because it's something a bit different, especially in the Speedway family, obviously, because you've got Ipswich on tarmac, and now this one's on the shale. But in terms of what happened, and my opinion was that we think that because of the 2-litre, because of Unlimiteds becoming almost the default national banger category when you think of it, 2 litres have sort of got a little bit lost by the wayside, partly because of the dominance of the Mondeo for so long, and partly we think maybe because the ORCi National Banger Championship, which is technically run to 3-litre rules, would by that I mean 3-litre engines, not 3-litre the team. That's a completely different class of rules. That because of that being so Mondeo dominated, it sort of doesn't really have a place. And in terms of how to market it, I'm wondering if maybe we know which ones are the big championships. Obviously, you've got the PRA ORCi World Championship, the Speedworth one, obviously for Unlimited. You've got the alternative one down at Auto Speed, which again we could probably talk about what could be done for that. And I was thinking maybe would it be a good idea to rename it from a World Championship, stop trying to put that pressure on it so it's looked at and compared to those, and maybe call it something else like a World Cup or a 3-litre, I don't know, just something along those lines. Jordan, I know you've got a lot of views about that, because I mean you're someone that grew up around Mondeo World Championships.
Yeah, so obviously being a local boy to Arena. I grew up with the PRI World Final, or the ORCi PRI World Final, to give it its full title. And when I first started going, it was sort of towards the end of the Mark 1 and Mark 2 Ford Granada dominance. But then after that, it completely went to front-wheel drive, and we had the Vauxhall Cavaliers coming into it. And then quickly after that, we had the Ford Mondeos, and the Ford Mondeos have pretty much stuck by the wayside for the last 14 years, I'd say, maybe 13 years. And although numbers at Arena were good for the most part, I think the biggest entry they got was about 170, 190 cars from a very, very wet World Final in 2012, I think. But yeah, it's a shame that this meeting hasn't quite lived up to the expectations of it. And I think, obviously, with the dominance of the Mondeos in the PRI World Final, which obviously, as we all know, as James just said, is a 3 litre limit, that maybe did hamper it a little bit. But with it now being on Charles as well, it kind of feels like it's on the same sort of wavelength as the track style 2 litre World Final, which has been going for a little while now, under the same sort of rules, really. Obviously, when it used to be held at Swaffham and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but we enjoyed discussing it last night, didn't we, James?
We did.
I think we come to the conclusion that we have the obviously unlimited Banger World Cup at Cowdenbeath. We also now have the Micro Banger World Cup at Lochgelly. Obviously, one being run by HRP and the other GMP. But we were just wondering if there's a scope there for the 2 litre National Banger World Cup.
And again, it's sort of taking the pressure off by calling it a World Final, which almost sort of gets it dismissed if it's not as big of a meeting as, say, the as the traditional big World Finals, and actually make it almost like a second tier of competitions that are seen almost like the majors of banger racing before the before the World Championship. I mean, actually, I've just got to look at the booking list, and it has now got up to about 50 cars. I've got some ex-World Champions on there. We've got Dean Goodall, Jordan Cumming going to be there. We've also got some other big names. Leon Lake is going to be there. Who else we got? We've got
the Gladiators.
We've got Carl Douglas, who's basically a 2 litre specialist, isn't he? Really, I think that's probably fair to say. So I think it's picking up. I wonder if part of that is maybe, I was going to say the Bears Bash, but I don't think any of them would have been at eSport if that had been running. Maybe Speed Weekend being the week before means that instead of building their BWS car, they've had a chance to go and build a 2 litre car. But yeah, I mean, we've actually been to watch this together, haven't we, at Birmingham Wheels, and it was a great meeting, but it doesn't feel like a World Final. And I think originally, when the first poster came out for this meeting, it was actually it was just there as an undercard to the Brisker F1s, and that has now been changed, so it's like a double header. It's difficult to say what to do to make this there. We've spoken many times on this show about what makes a World Final, given that we're the only sport, I think, that has 7 of them or something. And I think that this one isn't different enough from the ORC National Banger World Final to call it the ORC 2 litre. I think it's basically the same. I think it's a bit of a hangover from the days when In-Car Race was a separate promotion and every promotion basically had their World Final, and they tried to keep them as different as possible. But, I mean, as I said, the booking list has picked up. You're going to have a big crowd there, the biggest crowd possible there, whatever, because you've got the Brisker F1s on there, so their travelling army will be coming to watch. But yeah, I mean, I'd either like to see it sort of return to its former status and be genuinely respected as a gold top. Actually, I think I'm right in saying that Boxer didn't even go wear gold for this when he won it. The only time he wore gold top for this championship was Firecracker 2018, because that was the last time at Essex is the only time he wore the gold top for this championship. So I mean, so I think that says quite a lot if you're seeing drivers not even go gold for this.
That'll be because, sorry to put in, but if you got a gold roof and you don't display it, you don't have to start at the back.
I've always been told if you're a world champion and don't have a gold top, you're made to start from the back anyway. I think it's a bit of a weird one, to be honest. I think it's because if he'd painted it gold in the unlimited class when he's a 2-litre world champion, I think there's a bit of wiggle room. And again, I think this is coming down to how confusing it is that we have so many world champions.
I think that's actually a really interesting point, though, that you and Jake have just raised, because I remember chatting to one of Stephen Bolton's mechanics over at Arena Essex when he won the Speedway World Final. And he was saying that Stephen was racing a Nissan Micra at home a couple of weeks before. And Stephen was out going, right, let's paint this roof gold then, or whatever, or getting the gold paint out. And his mechanic was called JJ, went like, you're an unlimited National Banger World Champion, you're racing the Micro Banger, how's that gold? And Stephen Bolton's response was, well, it's all National Bangers, isn't it?
Yeah, well, but again...
I'm not saying, obviously... Yeah. I'm not saying JJ, Stephen Bolton's mechanic, was wrong, and I'm not saying Stephen was right, but...
I don't think anyone knows. I don't think anyone knows what the rule is on that, because, say, for example, Jordan Cumming wore gold the whole time as world champion. I mean, technically, Scratchy would never have had to start from the back after winning the PRI final, would he? But he wore gold. Because, I mean, we don't have any other meetings run to normal National Banger rules anymore, which is the 3-litre category, so he would have been fine. I mean... I think it all comes down to personal preference, and if you're prioritising your grid position as a banger driver rather than your pride in being a world champion, I think it says a lot about the world championship in question.
This is the thing as well. I mean, we've discussed this before. Like, say, just discussed risk of Formula One. There, we'll pick two other formulas. One being 2-litre hot rods, and the other national hot rods. They're more or less what you call a circus formula. So, in other words, there's Formula One stock cars racing, say, at Northampton this weekend. They won't be racing at, say, for example, Loch-Ellie or down at Smearthorpe. There's basically one circus, so they only race together as one. Whereas, looking at the fixtures list, there's loads of, fair enough, not as many fixtures this weekend, but we'll come to that in a minute. But, Bangers seems to be everywhere and seems to be under a few different promoters. Teams, shall we say. So you have different world champions. So I just think it's good and it's bad, but it's just one of those things about Bangers. You just have to get on with it and just race with it. I mean, any other formula, say National Hot Rods, is only one world champion per year. Formula One stock cars is only one world champion per year. Same as stuff like, say, Tourist and all that. But just Bangers, just a little bit different.
I think it's fine to have a world champion in every category. I just wonder if the world championship puts a bit of pressure onto this meeting rather than it just being a 2-litre sort of in-car race's biggest 2-litre meeting of the year and just promote it that way as opposed to being a world championship. But then I suppose that's because in-car race have a long-term understanding to be able to run that as a world championship from the ORCi. I don't know what the answer is. I don't think anyone does, but I just think at least the bucket list has gone up, and Northampton has had some exceptional banger racing as of late. So hopefully this could be one of the big surprises, and then next year it will see even more.
I was going to say that despite all that maybe doom and gloom, and you guys may be thinking that we're being hypocritical and maybe writing the meeting off beforehand, that's not what we're doing, because obviously me and James did attend the meeting when it was held at Birmingham before that was temporarily shut. I think we attended it 2 or 3 times, and each time it was actually a really good meeting, despite really maybe low numbers. Well, I say low numbers, I think it got in between 50 and 60 cars each time we went up there. The meeting was good. We had lots of action, a few maybe controversial moments, and a good DD to end the night. And that's what you want from a National Banger World Final. So I'm sure this Saturday will be exactly the same. And as James said, at a track like Northampton, the first time the world title, or this world title, has been held on the show, I think it'll be a really interesting meeting. So, definitely get your tickets booked if you're planning on going.
Doesn't take a lot to cause carnage at Northampton. It's hard to keep the car straight, and there's no inside runoff, so it doesn't take a lot to cause some carnage.
No.
And the shale as well is a great leveler, so any of your basically nobody here is going to have sticky race tyres or brand new tyres either.
I would love to see actually someone that maybe we don't think someone that hasn't won a world championship before winning this and being really proud, wearing their gold reef everywhere with it. I think maybe that might be the start of thinking, oh yeah, that's actually something I want to go and win. It might be my chance of going to win a world final.
Yeah,
and being able to say something that. There's been tens of thousands of banger races, but not as many have been able to say they've been a world champion.
That's it. And a reasonable world championship as well. One that has weight as such. Like the roof really is gold.
Yeah.
Like there's been some world championships down here. Like, wow, now. There's 15 cars entered, and they all the race last week. So there's world champions and there's world champions. So, but I think it's just part of bangers. It's never you're never going to have one. Like most people would say that the Speed World or Limited World champion is the true world champion because that was the first one.
Jordan, did you hear that, mate?
Oh, I know what he's going to say next.
I kind of winced. This is exactly what me and James were saying last night.
John, when you get into
it's so hard to split between the three. But it is hard to split the three main world finals. So the ORCi one is obviously the original, that being later in MPRI because that was the home of it. But that still is the ORCi National Banger World Final. Autospeed then created the alternative one, which has been going a lot of years, and I'm sure someone will correct me on this, but I believe it's been going longer than the Speedweth one. But now the Speedweth one is the one everyone wants to win, and it's maybe the one that holds the biggest significance in terms of the National Banger Circus.
And does this come back to?
Yeah, it's really hard.
Does this come back to with what we said a minute ago in terms of the way bangers of God have unlimited national bangers almost become the default top tier, and therefore unlimited national bangers gets that glory?
That's it. Banger race is all about the glory, isn't it?
Quite possibly.
Yeah, it's something we.
I was going to say, just quickly, if anyone wants to give it a mention in any of our comments, maybe we can create another poll. Find out what you guys think about the ORCi 2 Litre National Banger World Final, or the in-car race World Final as it is.
I was going to say, it's something that we've talked about before. It just seems to be the common denominator in banger race. Like, how many world champions are there? How many world championships do there need to be as well?
That is a good question. I think Northampton, the way that this weekend is looking, it does smack a bit too similar in my eyes to the TSR one now, because I think we almost had two 2 litre world finals. When Arena Essex had its demise, we almost had two 2 litre finals lined up, in the fact that we had Tarmac one at Birmingham and the Shale one at Kings Lynn. Arena Essex, I sort of don't deem as the same because it was PRI. It was always
and it was technically 3 litres, which is the only 3 litre meeting.
Yeah, but either way, we almost had 2 world finals. A Shale world final for 2 litres and a Tarmac world final. But again, now that they are pretty much on similar sort of territory in the way that the tracks are laid out and the track surface, it becomes, there is certainly a question as to the relevancy of, or possibly the future, just because it's not, what's this title worth now? Because, the inter-race registered drivers are not as, obviously nowhere near as common as Speedweth because, obvious reasons. And, this track doesn't bear any difference to some others. So,
yeah, but I think that's a catch.
I don't think...
Sorry, I was just
going
to say.
Sorry, it's going to be bad by that. I don't think the meeting's going to be bad because again, Northampton has become a real shining star, I think, of recent times, and it has produced some top quality banger racing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think
the last 2 BWS meetings.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you're going to hold an in-car race world final, I think at the moment it has to be at Northampton. I don't think you'd get the same. I think as much as I love Hensford Hills Raceway, when it comes to national bangers, a BWS and Civil War perfect for it. I obviously it was there before. The World Final was there before, but I don't know in terms of its location, accessibility and stuff. It would get the same interest as when it would be at Northampton. And I know what you mean. We've now got 2 Shale 2-litre World Championships. I was also going to say earlier that there might be 7 different World Championships, but there's only 1 Caged Open winner. But then, of course, we've got 2 of those anyway. So,
well, yeah. I mean, we could go on and on about this one. It's certainly a debate for another time. It's probably an off-season debate, but I mean, it's never going to change that there's going to be several world titles in Bayern racing, whether it be the micro, unlimited. And don't forget, these few ones before, we used to have a figure of 8, and in the world of dirt, small field as well, we've lost those ones. So it's a case really of embrace what's there. Obviously, the sport is changing, whether it be the cars or the tracks. But we'll move on to the next one. Again, this was a meeting we were all really looking forward to. It was the Ringwood All-Granada meeting. Now, this was advertised pre-COVID. We were expecting a loss. At one stage, the booking this was well into 3 figures. But it didn't quite turn out the way it was planned or the way the promoter intended. Now, this promoter, Ringwood, they've been up and down. They've had good meetings, they've had bad meetings. But this wasn't really a very good meeting, Jake, was it?
No, sadly it wasn't that great or as great as people were imagining. And if anything, it sort of the complete opposite to Skeg, really, whereas everyone's harped Ringwood up. Possibly, maybe, well, they definitely too much. So it did suffer from its own hype. And to be fair, I wasn't going up until like a day or so before the meeting. Deacon got me keen to go, so I was like, yeah, go on then. And you did see a lot of smart cars footwork. You're thinking, oh, brilliant, yeah, maybe this is going to be a good one. But I think I saw every smart car before I got the meeting on Facebook. But that's just the modern days. But so looking at the positives of it, the car prep was absolutely fantastic. It was nice sort of having the old school engines as well, the V6s and the Pintos and the like. But obviously, maybe the format wasn't the best. The no-shows, few cars in heats, and a couple of niggly things. And then, of course, obviously the carry-on at the end didn't help matters either.
Let's just go into that for the 3 people who haven't seen the video that someone very stupidly put up on YouTube. Basically, driver decided to hop back into their car with no belts and do a few more hits. Now, I know, okay, Jonesy, he's a bit mad, he's a good crasher, but he wouldn't have done this anywhere else because he would have been looking at maybe a year's ban for this or more. So, what made him think he could do it at Ringwood?
Yeah, I don't know, rush of blood to the head. I don't know. At the time he probably thought after, oh, maybe that was stupid. Why did I do that and whatnot? But as to why he done it, we don't know. But obviously, it all started with Pikey getting done the inside out.
Just a quick disclaimer there. That we know that Steve Bailey loves being called Pikey, so we're not calling him Pikey. We got in trouble on Facebook a couple of days before that. One of our members went into Facebook jail for 24 hours and served his time. So yeah, basically Steve Bailey, aka Pikey,
the West Country travelling man.
Yeah, that's it. No, he's a great driver, great guy, but he got done what we'd call a dirty hit. In other words, a deliberate door shot. So that's probably what fired Jonesy up. But it promised to deliver much, and it didn't really, Jake. So I mean, you've come across well. I mean, like you were saying, it's good to see the cars, good to hear the cars. I always rave about the sounds of all the V6s and the Pintos and all that. But how much you think of it maybe was down to the promoter, and how much it was down to the drivers. Now, I do realise that most of the travelling in that overseas drivers, they couldn't come for various reasons. Most of the continental guys couldn't come. There's a bit of a mix-up over here as well, which I won't discuss publicly because I don't know the full facts of the scenario. But is it a case that the promoter should have said, right, we're going to defer this to 2022, or I think that, we really want to do it now?
Yeah, I think I can understand why they wanted to get it done, because obviously there's a worry if keep delaying, it is going to deflate the meeting. And I think that was about as well, and especially with obviously the Mildenhall one coming up, I think Ringwood were a bit, well, we better get ours in first before people just go, sod it, I'll take my car to Mildenhall. So I think he's a bit catch-22, but maybe perhaps it would have been better if left so the visitors could have come over, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But the other thing to remember is as well, now, like we said earlier on at Skegness, there was there weren't many Granadas there at all because they're all at Ringwood. That's the thing now with the Granada. It's a bit like, say, the A60 was 20 years ago. They're being kept purely for the all A60 meetings or the all classic car meetings. The same with the Granadas. I know a lot of the drivers still have a few of them stacked up, and they're becoming hot property now again with the old raffles and all that. But I mean, it's a case of they are in limited supply. Like, I know drivers years ago used to have loads of them, now they're down to the last few. But the case now, the Granadas need to be kept for their own. Basically, the Granadas now, most of the time, are being kept for the all Granada meetings rather than the pre-90 meetings, because there's a few other pre-90 cars you can race as well. But,
yeah, definitely. I think the fact that they're soft as anything as well doesn't help. You're not really going to want to take one out against American stuff, and it's the cost of them as well nowadays. I don't think that sort of helps as well, because let's be honest, no one's going to want to go smash a expensive car up straight away, and it's completely understandable.
You'd be surprised.
Well, yeah, sure, there are exceptions, but I think the majority want them to last a bit, whether that's last couple of races or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think people's expectations were reflecting on the previous Ringwood meeting, and I think that was 5 years ago now.
Yeah, 2016 myself.
Yeah. So Granada's, the price of them's gone up a bit since then. So like I say, it was enjoyable if you had low expectations or if you didn't get too hyped up about it.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect summary, because I mean, I'm not going to get too misty-eyed about it. I was at the 2016 meeting, and just sometimes you go to a meeting, you're walking around the pits before, and you just feel the buzz. You just know it's going to be good. Like the 2016 one was fantastic. The one at Arena at Essex in 2013, the Ollie Moran meeting, that was fantastic as well. So I mean, we've had good. Let's like you say, we've had good meetings, we've had bad meetings, but this one was a bad meeting really, and we can't put it all down to the drivers either. Promotion will have to settle some of the blame, and in the midst of this one, I think Adam Bromson has said he's intending to stand down again as a Bangor representative. James, you're looking at this from the officialdom side of it. What's your views?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I'm going to obviously disclaim this, but I wasn't there. But there's enough for me to be able to talk about what I'm going to talk about. My absolute bugbear in life is people thinking it's okay to race on reds, and it's okay because people got out and shook hands. I've been on the side of the wall, fire extinguisher in hand, a driver in clear distress, and had to stand there because drivers weren't stopping for reds. I was disappointed with some of the Bangor community, some of the photographer community, when there were statements made such as, "Oh, it's great sportsmanship, they shook hands." Now, obviously, we're talking about some of the most entertaining and best races there are, and I'm not taking that away from them, but for me, it's almost, don't say unforgivable, but I really dislike seeing drivers completely ignoring red flags, because I know from my experience about how difficult it is for officials in that situation, because all you want are the cars to stop to be able to get on and do something. Now, I believe actually it was a check and red anyway, so it wasn't a driver in distress. But you don't know that. There could have been a driver went thumbs down after the checkered flag. Anything could be wrong. Could have been a bloody heart attack, and no one can get on. So I think we mentioned it before. You mentioned it before about why it happened. I think part of it is knowing that a ban doesn't mean an awful lot to them. They might miss the UK Open, and probably be the only other one they might have even gone to. I just wanted to put that out there that I don't think. I think some other people have said it. I think our good friend Ben Garrett, obviously, who's a lot of stand late, he made a sarcastic comment which I think hit the nail on the head. So, oh, don't you know? As soon as drivers shake hands, everything's okay. It's forgiven. I just want to put it out there that really just stop if you see a red flag. You don't know what else is going on track. You can't hear the radio, and one day it might cause something serious that will put either a driver's life at risk, or in the worst case, and probably the sport at risk if something bad happens. If flags can't control drivers, then nothing can, and where does the sport go from there?
Well, that's it. I mean, I've stood in on plenty of drivers' breeds not to give one or two of them. It's always said the red flag. It could be you. Whether it's you're winded, you're knocked out, you're just a bit stiff, or basically means stop. You need help. But the advice that there wasn't the track aren't an ORCi track, so I mean any punishments given out don't stick. So like I said, if you wanted to race later on in the year, if that meeting goes ahead, of course, in November, yeah, fair enough, you can't do it. But just the impression I seem to get is that the promotion weren't really as harsh on the rule breakers as they should have been, because I know normally there's, say if that had been an ORCi track, which is pretty much anywhere else, they say that kind of carry on happened to Skegness. Quite a few people would have been on holidays for a year or more. Like I don't know how the full structure of an ORCi ban works. So it depends on the offence rather than the offender.
Well, it goes, So what happens? The steward submits a letter to the ORCi. The ORCi come back with confirming the steward's decision or extending it or reducing it, and then the letter gets sent out from the promotion. I think it is fair to say, actually, we have to say a similar thing has happened between Poshwash and DWO at Ipswich in the last chance qualifiers, where Nemesis picked up a lengthy ban for doing something similar. It wasn't to the same extent. It didn't go on as long, and the way of managing it worked. But I mean, I just can't say it enough. I mean, standing there on the other side of the wall, watching a driver in clear distress, fans screaming behind you, and you can't do anything because the people in the car aren't doing what you're asking them to do with the only thing you've got available, which is a piece of fabric on a stick.
Well, that's why they're bringing the lights in as well now. Again, Skegness has the traffic lights all over the place. So driving through town half the time, when you see all the lights around.
Ringwood does have lights as well. There's only a few tracks that don't.
Well, as you said, there's no point having all these things if people don't obey them, really, is there?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I mean, again, we could talk about bans. I think sometimes it has happened. I've seen it happen at Scunthorpe as well, between Dreamers and Team Trim, where you end up in a situation where almost people look forward to going to an independent track for a big meeting because they know there's a chance for a bit of naughtiness without having to have the consequences. There's no way around that. I mean, independent tracks have as much right to promote the sport, but I don't know what else there is. The only thing I can think is if drivers are going to do that and they've got a track record for doing that, maybe they have to put down some sort of driver's bond. Maybe they put down a few £100 driver's bond if they seriously rule break. The ban doesn't matter to them, but at least there is this that might do. I don't know if rush of blood to the head, it probably won't make that much difference, right? But
I think there's other factors that work, mainly being the one that I can do it because I'm going to get away with it. I think that's it, unfortunately. So promotion going to have to take a bit of a hit on that one.
I think on the subject of rule breaking at non-ORCi tracks, I think it must be said that the track bosses at these places, we've mentioned Adam and Craig Robertson as well, but at Stansted, I'd say about 2 months ago, or I think it was their first meeting back, the big micro national banger meeting, you had two drivers who, I mean, we've all probably seen the video or know who they are, that unfortunately didn't know when to sort of stop and when not to hit each other, shall we say, and one of the water bowsers or water pumps on the infield got broke, and that cost Terry Ratcliffe I think quite a lot of money in damages for a track that has struggled with water and stuff. And yeah, I know that I think Terry said that those drivers will either be paying for the damages or they won't be racing again. So yeah, I think, I mean, we were discussing it on air, and I know that I may be on my own on this, but I just think maybe everyone gets a bit hot-headed sometimes, but I just think it's maybe a little bit of a lack of respect, I think, sometimes for fellow competitors. I know James said marshals as well, because obviously in the situation that they're in, no matter how dressed up they are in health and safety and stuff, a marshal isn't going to go on a track and try and stop a car doing 30 or 40 mile an hour coming down the street and
exactly that.
jacking up someone else. So, I think stricter punishments should be in place, but what they are, and obviously it's hard when you haven't got the support of the governing body, but then again, maybe that's something that the sport needs to look at, to be honest, which I know that is hard to do.
Yeah, so last thing I'm going to say on this before we move on, because I know we do need to move on, is that that's what upset me about people saying it was sportsmanship, that hands were shook afterwards. The drivers are obviously the main part of the sport. Without them, there wouldn't be any cars on the track, but they're not the only part of the sport. Officials are there. They are as much a part of the sport, and it's not sportsmanship to them to be doing that. And I think that's what upset me with some comments, and I think they were taken on board by the person who made them. I did actually get an apology, but I think that does need to be remembered more than, well, as much as anything else.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there are limits, there are rules. They're not necessarily the old joke that they're to be bent or broken, but this time they were vaporised, for a better phrase, and we're lucky nobody was too seriously hurt. But the other thing to look about is, if that was somebody's first time going to see Barnes, what impressions would they have left with it? But it's one of those things. It's going to go on and on and on. The old adage, something bad is going to happen, and we've seen in other areas of the racing, the bad thing has happened. So basically, and then we say, it was too much complacency in racing. There always is. Motorsport is all about complacency. It's going to happen eventually, one way or the other. So I think just hopefully lessons have been learned from it. And I'm not necessarily saying that Ringwood should join the ORCi. That's their decision to or not. But maybe just be a little bit harsh on the people who do break the rules.
I think there was a collective laugh there across promoters.
Oh yeah, I know. But all the promoters don't necessarily get on. They're all in business half the time. Don't forget, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. Although some of them seem to make the bit that they're more interested in racing clearer than the other ones. We won't name names, of course. But we'll move on as well to something we actually forgot about to mention in the original script, with Hensford BWS. Now, Hensford, probably the fastest track on for Barnes, BWS Modern Unlimiteds. Jake, again, you were there. You seem to be doing a lot of miles in the last week and a half.
Yeah, I'm stupidly keen, I think, at the moment.
That's good. That's good. Keep it going.
Yeah, I suppose. Going to Mendip, so back to basics this weekend. So, yeah, stupidly keen is right, I think. But no, so Hendo, it was really hot day, obviously. No, it was a good meeting, to be fair. Obviously, the list was down a bit on the size of Northampton, but that was expected, I think, to be honest. But no, there's some real good action to be found. Obviously, 21 getting obliterated by the Boogler brothers was good, and how he pulled his frog back out was pretty impressive. Also, 262 taking some heavy damage and getting his Merc back out was good to see. Lakey's crown was easily car meeting, absolutely stunning. Used it well as well. And if I'm correct, if I can remember, I think Browning won it, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah, 887 Rob Browning. He was the
if I got that wrong, I'd have blamed it on the sunstroke anyway. But good drive from him. And yeah, then it was a good meeting. I was personally surprised and impressed by it. Obviously went back to sort of the format we saw last year, where we had the showdown before the wild card. Personally, I'm not a fan of that way too much. I thought the format at Northampton was absolutely fantastic because we had a load of races. Obviously, they had to go back to the old one for Hendersford due to numbers, and it did work on the day of the meeting, to be fair. So, yeah, it was a good one. I'm glad I went.
That's good. No, I mean, a quick review is what we knew. It was good you were there too, supporting the sport. I mean, like you said, you've enjoyed it. You're on a bit of a buzz, so hopefully the buzz will keep going. We all go to more meetings, what we can do. But another quick review then. Tom, you were at Mildenhall for Back to Basics.
Yeah, I was on mic on a very quiet evening at Mildenhall, but it was Saturday night banger action, as is usually the case. A small little field. It's small it's not even small really. It was around 60 Back to Basics at Mildenhall Saturday night. Obviously, it was competing against other big events like the Thunder 500 and King's Lynn. So I wasn't the numbers were all right for what they were, and I was kind of pleased with the way it turned out. A decent little evening for those who took part. Congratulations to winners 901 Reese Warby. He had a good heat in, I think it was his Astra Saloon. Callum Jacobs, Stress, he was my man of the meeting. He won the second heat. As the meeting became a little bit more destructive in the evening, and certainly during the DD, he was on a mission and didn't really give much room, it has to be said. 127 of Kieran Andrews was the winner of the third heat. That was subject to change at the time because Reese Legris took the win, but was docked 2 positions for passing on the concrete for a last bend lunge. So that went to Kieran Andrews. Heat 4 went to 629 Ewan Rout, who was driving a Ford Puma, a car that I don't often see. I remember seeing it back in the day when people were trying to make hot rod shells out of it, but it's made its way into bangers now, and it seems to be quite a fast one. Banger final was then won by 334 Stephen Court. A good win for him. There wasn't a DD, but there was a little. We did let them go on for a little bit after to see if one would break out. Unfortunately, a 5 put pay to that. So no DD, but a good night. And I'd say highlights came with Stress. And 41 Thomas Dyer was another one who was really out there looking to obliterate the opposition as the stages went on. So a good evening all round for those involved. And it's a case of trying to build that back to basic scene up in East Anglia. I know it's very strong in Yarmouth, but Ipswich and Milton sort of, they need to, if they want regular DDs at the venue, I think the community needs to be built up a bit, and I think this is a good step in the right direction.
That's good. Positivity is an awful lot of it now, because obviously we've had racing taken away from us for a while. We're getting it back now, so appreciate it all. So, but we'll move on again, and see again. We've had an up and down discussion. We've had the ups, we've had the downs, but this one's a funny one, and I think that's the easiest way to describe it. Basically, Arena Essex for the last 30 years, race video were there every single weekend, and they've been to Mildenhall as well, basically filming, and you could buy at the time a VHS tape. Then they moved on to DVDs, but then obviously time stands still for no one. The owners of Race Video decided they wanted to retire from the business. For a while, the business disappeared, and there were no DVDs available. Then it picked up again. But James, you've been keeping an eye on this one, and I'll let you go first. Now, this isn't really going to be a hatchet job on anyone. It's more so just stating the facts.
Yeah, exactly. So in May, we obviously there was posts about there being new owners of Race Video and their back catalogue. As that has developed, it's there's potential plans for a streaming service of their back catalogue. Following on from that, there was a post from the new owner of Race Video asking people to make sure they respect the copyright of the Race Video back catalogue. Now, I put a post up on Oval Chat, a post I didn't think would get as much attention as it did, but I sort of felt a bit upset. And the reason I felt a bit upset was that the new owner of Race Video, and there's no point in being coy about this because it's a matter of fact, is Mark Jones, who's probably well known to a lot of people in the Bangor community. And what irked me slightly was he has in the past advertised being able to supply devices that would allow people to watch broadcasts without technically going through the correct copyright protection. I think that's as much as I want to say on that. It got quite a lot of feedback, and a lot of people, I got a lot of messages sent directly to me from a lot of prominent people within the community, I'm not going to name names, saying that they were happy that I posted that, that it said a lot of their own feelings, and there was a level of hypocrisy to this. And following on from that, there's been more comments about people being slightly concerned. Now, of course, preserving the back catalogue is fair enough. Setting up a streaming service, of course, fair enough. There's the question about whether or not you have rights to do a streaming service because you have a DVD back catalogue. In my knowledge, obviously I'm the producer of this show, I do a lot of research into what you can and can't do. We are paranoid about what we use in terms of fair use. We track down every bit of copyright approval we can, wherever we can. But in this specific situation, I felt there was a level of hypocrisy in the situation, and I think it was. I just think that needs to be pointed out. And then there were other comments in the community that have also said that it's potentially this is part of a wider issue, and obviously we can't comment to that, but it's a brand name that's very well known within the sport for an excellent back catalogue, for an excellent, effectively an archive of the sport through the 90s, 2000s. And I think it's touched to a lot of people. Like I said, I never meant to post that with the intention of, like you said, Ed, doing a hatching job on anyone. I know that person has now blocked me from social media, I think probably because I pointed that out. But listen, I'm just trying to be really careful with my words here, because it's not for me to make personal allegations. I was making a point about calling out sections of the community, and we've spoken a lot about copyrights here. We've spoken.
James, sorry, I was going to say, I wouldn't say calling out people. It's more a case of stating the obvious, really, because the old adage of hypocrisy, we seem to see an awful lot in racing, different rules to different people. Just to mention to people as well, probably those of you who listened from the start, thank you very much, will notice we played Mouldy Old Doe at the start. It actually took a little bit of research to figure that we could use Mouldy Old Doe at the start, and we weren't just
very short clip that fades out. The clips we used, in our Motorsport with Attitude show, we actually went to the photographers, Matt Ball, the guys from Star Trek. Sorry, the name evades me at the moment. We also went to Jake, yourself, even though you sort of in a way work with us, I still asked you for complete permission before to make sure it was 100% okay for me to use your footage. I went to DT, we once said, oh, can we do that? And in that situation, he comes back and say, brilliant, I'll help you out, let's do this. And I was going to say, 95, as I've started myself, 95% of the time, it's no problem at all. The other time I might say, what are you going to use it for? We're going to use it for a poster for racing, that's fine. Yeah. Well, if it was some... No, sorry, John, I can't again. No, it's fine.
The other time you might get is, I'm going to put it on a hoodie, and I'm going to sell 100 of those hoodies. It's like, well, hang on a second, that's a bit different. Okay, it's supporting the sport, but it's not really. It's supporting your pocket at the same time, because there's very few people in certain areas of the sport who do things out of the goodness of their heart or to support racing. So in certain cases, they do need to put food on the table or a roof over their heads or whatever. Yeah. So there needs to be a balance made. Now, most of the time, there's actually in the media side of racing, so I include myself, Jake, and George on that one. It's not our full-time job. Like, we all have day jobs, and George's case just finished uni, so fair play to him there. But, racing in our cases doesn't fund our livelihoods, whereas it will for some people. So it's just a case of, again, like you said, James, a very fine line has been drawn here, and
I mean, I think
it's not good.
It's two parts of the community that we have spoke about a lot, right? That this person has been involved in, right? Copyrighted, whether or not who has the copyrights to sports streams. We've spoke about that endlessly. This person has, in whatever way, been advertising ways to get around that. We've spoke about raffles. Now, we've spoke about the good and bad of raffles. We've spoke about whether or not raffles, at least for cars, might not technically be within the letter of the law, but you can sort of understand it. Maybe someone will couldn't afford a fresh Mark II shell, will get one for 40 quid. Sort of understand it, right? Not raffles for cash. Raffles for cash on 14 numbers, that's just plain gambling. And you can't say, right, these rules that are there for everyone to see about what to do in media, I'm going to completely ignore those. But now I've got my own media catalogue, despite the question of whether or not the rights to streaming are included in that, and then say, right, all of you follow these rules. It just didn't sit right with me, and it upset me. And by the reaction, I imagine it upset quite a few other people, and that's why I said that. There was no malice against the person.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I mean, we've seen certain elements of the sport appear lately. The raffles being one. I know there's been raffles that have exploded. If you look at Facebook a lot, I mean, you can buy enter a raffle pretty much anything you like. Over here in particular, seems to be a thing about tractors, as in full size ones, trailers, speedboats, drift cars, sheds, jacuzzis, big tellies, you name it, there's a raffle for it. But there's been, we won't go into this, go on all night about it. There's been, and some of these raffle companies have been called out for doing it unfairly. And personally speaking, the only raffles I'll do are the old bonus bowlings, because for a fact they're not rigged, they're not favoritized. But I know that the Google random number generator can be fixed. So yeah, but I mean, what's happening here, Race Video, it's just not right. And I mean, the guy doing it, who also seems to be behind the Southern Bangers magazine, which seems to be perennially coming soon. Some of the stuff he said online, as a media person myself, I'm like, this guy's got the cart so far before the horse, you can't even see the horse, never mind smell it. So I mean, that's just not the way to go about things. So for the moment, it would seem that the Race Video catalogue is not where it should be. Like we've seen it as well before in other areas. In nearly any industry, you might have one person in a cottage industry. They might want to retire, or they might have retired due to ill health or whatever, and there's been nobody there to pick up the mantle. Like I've seen that in the model making industry in particular. There's a lot of cottage industries there, whether it's part-time or full-time. But Jordan, you were saying earlier, you would like to see the Race Video archive in a safer place.
I don't know if I said safer place. I think, Race Video was, for a very long time, in my opinion, the number one short oval racing DVD production, especially for the likes of Arena Essex in the 90s and noughties. Same thing with Milden. I know, well, I've recently learned that they've used to travel about as well. They went down to Ringwood for a short while, and, various other tracks and locations. So I think it's important for the sport and for the history that they are preserved. And I'm glad that people are trying to preserve them, and I hope they'll be preserved for a long time coming so everyone can enjoy them, because I think I'm not just in oval racing, but I'm a firm believer in we should respect and know the history of everything to make sure that the world is better for us currently and going forward. And I think that is prominent within oval racing and banger racing as well. So, yeah, I think that's all I really have to say on that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fine. Jake, anything to say with that as a fellow video person, or just, do you think that's needs sorting out?
It's nice to see the Race Video stuff carrying on 100%. I think whether it's going to be in a good way or whether it's going to be in a bad way, I think it's too early to sort of say. We know it's not. We know it's not, or he's not kosher 100%. But hopefully this pans out great, because no one doesn't want to see Race Video go down the pan, do they? So hopefully, things do turn out good.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And Tom, you've been saying this one as well.
Yeah, I mean, this one was one which I added my 50 pence to, and it's frustrating to see the way it's gone, because I completely agree with James's point, and I agree with. I know we've obviously spoken internally about the reaction to James's comment, and I agree with the person who said he won the internet, because, it was so spot on, and I think it needs to be acknowledged that this just is so hypocritical, and it's so he's so lax about some things, and it's definitely. I can't speak for it myself. I don't know the ins and outs how these fire sticks work, but clearly there has to be something about them which means that that people want them and they're in such high demand. And for those to be sold off at such a fast and in such bulk, with so much on them for clearly very little, and the price that they're going for doesn't represent the content that's on them. It smells wrong, from just explaining it to other people, not even people within the sport, just explaining it from a copyright or from a media perspective. It doesn't sound right, and then to suddenly come on social media as the new owner of a massive and extensive archive that needs to be respected, and then to preach that, it just sounded wrong. And it's amazing the amount of people who within the community and that I've worked with. It's amazing the amount of people who said upon hearing this that if it was to collapse, or some people saying when it might collapse, they would happily step up to the plate. And I just think it needs to have gone to a better someone who might actually respect this footage. I mean, I don't know what the plans are, but I already in the post I wrote, I said that by the sounds of things, they're going to isolate a certain area or element of the audience, because the customer base was mainly for the box sets, and from what I've heard, there's been very little communication for those who have inquired since the takeover. And it's just that there are certain elements of it which I just don't think are going to work. The streaming service, it obviously I've got the knowledge and the experience on that side from within the business. That could potentially work, but again, if you're isolating your customer base and you're making a bad reputation for yourself outside of the business, then no one's going to come, regardless of what you're selling, because as much as people love race video, it's not. I think some people will see this as not race video anymore because it's just changed beyond recognition. The previous owners, I had communication with several times, and they were always very respectful, always trying to cater to what might I want, what will I come back for this in the future, what can they offer a X rate to sort of make me leave as happy as I could be. But I can't see that happening here because it just strikes me as wrong that this is being aimed, or this has been picked up as a money-making scheme and nothing else. I think. And
I would just like to say again that I know there'll probably some people thinking like it's not your job to say this, mind your own business and stuff. But I think the second that message went out, it isn't mind your own business anymore. It's public, and from there, I mean, I suppose in a way we're all amateur journalists, but we do our best to work within the media framework we've got. And and I said, just that message just rubbed me up the wrong way, because we spoke so much about copyright recently, and especially with live streaming at tracks and stuff, about respecting copyrights and what you can and can't post. I mean, technically, right, whatever we post to Vimeo, with my IT knowledge, I won't do this, but I could rip everything off that 10 minutes after it's up. I could have that on my own private streaming service on a Fire Stick, use Plex or something, and say to everyone, right, for 10 quid, I'll let you have whatever he posts for free forever. Would he like that? Doubt it. But that's effectively what he's doing to other people. So I don't know how you can go from one to the other without seeing that.
This thing as well. I mean, if it was, say for example, if say somebody else had race video, you wouldn't have this situation. The thing with race video is the archive. Like, I mean, I know I'm looking at a pile of VHS tapes right here. One of them is the Marine Essex 2003 Mark Bold Memorial Meeting. Now, I want to watch that. Now, I'll need to go down to the conversion place or look through the local for sale ads for either a VHS recorder or a VHS or DVD. So I think if he wasn't sitting on this massive archive, we wouldn't be in this position right now, would we?
Well, I think that's it. I think as well. I think originally a lot of it was, this is brilliant because it's such an important archive of work. But yeah, it's just the way it went about it that I think rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way, including myself.
I think that's it. But I was going to say, we all laugh at the likes of Arthur Daly or Del Boy, but they're fictitious creations. You laugh at them. Like, if you knew some of those people in reality, I'm sure they do exist in reality, you probably wouldn't think as much of them. He's a crook. He likes chancing his arm a bit too much. But this thing about racing, it's the good and the bad. So we've had a fair balance with the bad lately. So we just seem to stay positive about it. the thing is, there have been other video companies who have not quite stepped forward yet, but just made their intentions clear if they were to take control of this archive. So at least we look at the positivities there, because it's very easy nowadays to go online, to go on Facebook, and say I'm going to do this and going to do that, but you can't do. There's no smoke or fire. So at the moment, there isn't even any smoke. There's plenty of matches there, but none of them have been lit. So be interested to see what happens. But I think with this one, for a change, I know it's something I say a lot. Be interested to see what happens. But I think this is going to happen very quickly, and it's going to go one way or the other very quickly. Would you agree with that, James?
Sorry, Ed. Sorry, Ed. I was just doing a little bit of production in the background now.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I think this will move quickly. Maybe it'll end up that this might be the thing that makes someone realise when you work in media, you have to respect these things. Not that I'll know that anyway, because he's blocked me.
Well, it's not that. It's just the fact that I've seen it happen in Ireland anyway. 2 or 3 years ago, there was a promoter at Tipperary Raceway. He was going to revolutionise the sport. We were going to have hexagon racing rather than oval racing. We were going to do this. We were going to do that. And he didn't even last a year. So, there's no point in saying you're going to do this, that, the other way, backing it up, or at least doing it. And I think we do know that the video platform does work. Obviously, it was the pilot platform for Speedway TV, and they moved away from it because there are limitations to that platform. It does work as a video platform, works as a subscriber platform, and ripping DVDs is relatively straightforward. But it is expensive. I don't know. That's another thing as well. I mean, the cost of holding gigabytes of videos on Vimeo is very expensive. Critical mass is going to be within the hundreds to break even on it. So, yeah, it's yet another thing. I think, by the looks of it, it's a business being run on hopes and dreams for the moment. So let's see what he can manage. Any closing thoughts on that one, Jake, or shall we move on?
No, just what I've said really. Just hope it does work out. Just for the legacy of race video, really. And it'd be a shame if the name of race video and all the sort of the footage goes Pete Tong. So hopefully it does work out.
That's it. No, that's can't get fairer than that. And hopefully we've given a fair judgment of the situation. We don't deliberately go out to drag people's names through the mud, but we won't. So we'll move on to the fixtures then. Again, the standard disclaimer, there's been 1 or 2 meetings cancelled lately, so obviously check before travelling. But as we discussed earlier on, Saturday 26th of June in Northampton, the 2-litre bangers world final, Lochgelly micro banger teams and caravans, and then, as Jake mentioned earlier, back to basics at the Mendips, which is a weekend meeting. Then on Sunday, a meeting we talked about last time at Hensford, the Unlimited Bangers Veterans Day, includes the first time in nearly 40 years an E-Type Jag will have seen the track, so that'll be the pick of the meetings to go to this weekend. And if you're going, of course, the old boys out as well, 4 more go. Also be a nudge and spin meeting, but at the end we'll get full contact. So hopefully the E-Type Jag, never mind anything else, we'll get a few laps in there. I know in the background, Chris Hill and a few of the guys have been promoting this quite hard, so hopefully we get a good turnout at this meeting. Hopefully good weather for it too, because nothing beats Unlimited around Hensford anyway. It's probably one of the best tracks going. Then after that, on the same day, obviously, if you had a helicopter, you could probably get to it. In Onken, the Isle of Man, another demolition derby. We also have Wharton big vans, and the second day of the back to bases at Mendips. Now, the following weekend, the 3rd and 4th of July, the Ipswich Speed weekend has actually been cancelled, so there wouldn't have been many meetings going to happen that weekend anyway, but we do have a few. July 3rd, Crimmins, Scotland, micro bangers. Then the 4th of July, Independence Day, Kings Lynn, pre-7500s and overs. At Stanlake, we did a Mike Up Memorial, and a return to Smallfield for the micro bangers. An interesting episode there. Full Throttle, we kind of went up and we went down, but I mean, as much as we love the sport, it does have its highs and its lows. So hopefully we can learn something from this. How just stay positive. I know we keep saying stay positive, but I mean, we've basically faced the darkness completely, big time. So, we've seen how bad it can get. So now we just have to appreciate how good we can make it. So I'd like to thank my panelists for the evening. I'd like to say thank you very much, Dan Brock.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks for your time once again on a good podcast evening. Hope to see you out there on the raceway soon, or wherever it may be.
That's good. I know you made a temporary appearance tonight, but again, very welcome. Thank you very much, Jake Harris.
Yeah, no, cheers. Cheers for having me on. Been a good evening.
Good, you're very welcome. And we'll just say thanks to the 2 usuals, but again, very welcome and very valuable input. We'll say thank you very much, Jordan Hollands.
Cheers, Ed. Thank you, everyone, for listening at home. Hopefully, it's been an interesting listen for you guys, and enjoy your racing over the next couple of weeks, wherever you're going.
That's exactly it. And we might as well say thank you very much again to James Keane.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ed. Thank you very much, Jordan, to Dom and Jake for coming on, to everyone listening. It's a pleasure to produce these podcasts. I think it's just nice to talk. Again, like it's always nice to talk bangers wherever, and hopefully you've enjoyed listening at home. Might be one of our more controversial shows, but I think we have to cover these things if we're going to say we'd be covering the banger news. And look forward to seeing you all again in 2 weeks' time.
This is it. I mean, bangers and controversy go hand in hand, whether it's on track, off it, or online. But what can you say, really? We need to report it as it is. This has been episode 59 of Cage Full Throttle. I've been Ed Fahey. Thanks for listening.